Farm4Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit Podcast.
Hey, listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Farm4Fun Podcast, Farm4Profit Podcast.
Farm4Profit Podcast, Farm4Fun show.
We had to delay this because my father-in-law was calling me, and I can't play the intro music until he stops calling me.
Yeah, and I already delayed it once as well, double booking myself. So
it doesn't matter. We have fun all the time, and you can already hear the laugh of our guests.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to have to put him on contract because of his radio voice.
Yeah.
So we can get into this. So I don't think we should make the listeners wait
Nope. Let me
much
introduce
longer.
him.
See if we can get you rocking here.
Today on the Farm4Fun show, we are back in studio, and we have a man that has a voice made for broadcasting. I used to hear him report the markets when I was driving all around the state working for Pioneer. He is currently on his statewide tour handling out fiddles on the go to those in the thick of it this spring planting season. He's a local Iowa farm boy, fellow Iowa State grad, a singer, musician, has held many roles in the world of ag communications, but his current role for the last 12 years is with Carroll Broadcasting. Please welcome Mr. Vaughn Ketelsen of KCIM 1380 AM.
Wow, what an intro.
Yeah, it's even better, too, because he's depicting you holding, like, cinnamon rolls in your hand, the way he spelled that in his script.
What?
Wow.
Roll is R-O-L-E.
Oh.
You've got him holding
Okay.
bread rolls.
If you
and
saw
buns
the time
and-
that I wrote this in, that's pretty amazing. Like, I was heading out the door to get here.
I think we're going to have to revamp Vittles with Vaughn to Rolling with Corey
There
and
we go.
Tanner. You get it? Rolling?
There we
I
go.
like that.
So welcome to our studio, Vaughn. I
you.
met you probably a month or month and a half ago down in Des Moines
That's
at
right.
the Future Farmers Forum.
That's right.
And,
World Food Prize Building.
Yeah, you were covering that, interviewed me, and I was like, I know that voice. And I don't know what station it was when I was driving around in I covered north central Iowa for Pioneer for several years, and I know I heard you report the markets quite a bit. So I don't know what station it was. Maybe it was the Carroll Broadcasting one, or maybe it was one of your previous ones.
No, one of the previous ones. I've
Probably.
been all over Iowa, though, Corey.
Yeah.
All over.
Listen to this. Normally we let the guest introduce themselves, but you started as a communications specialist, and then you were an account executive for Marshalltown Broadcasting, and then you went to Cumulus Media, then Ketelsen, then Clear Channel. Then were you with the Iowa Farm Bureau Federation
yes, I was
too?
a regional manager for a few years.
Jiminy Christmas. Then Three Eagles, and then to Carroll. So you have a long career.
Well,
I shouldn't say that. It makes you sound old.
well, Tanner,
You are an experienced broadcaster.
Diversified.
it kind of hit home, Tanner, when I was at a conference, and a lady came up to me and said, I used to hear you on the school bus every morning going to school. And she looked at me and she said, that was a long time ago.
Oh, that would get me, yeah. You know that's going to happen to us someday.
I know it. Yeah, that will be.
We started this young enough to where we're going to get 20 years into this, and it's going to feel like a lot longer than
Right.
20 years into this.
Right.
Boy.
So I don't know how much you have know about us, Vaughn. So we put 2 shows out a week.
Okay.
Monday is called a Farm4Profit show, and we normally focus on a topic in ag, agronomy, or taxes, something like that. And this is our Farm4Fun show. So this is where we bring a guest in, and we learn about the guest. So this is about you. So
Well.
let's go back to little Vaughn. Where did you grow up, and what was your life like then?
Oh, Marion, Iowa, eastern Iowa.
Yeah.
Grew up on a small, by today's standards, a small farm, a grain and livestock farm. Was active in 4-H like my brothers and sister were. And we did that through most of my years. My parents wanted to buy, of all things, a pickup camper, and nobody in Iowa sold them. This has been like 60 years ago. And we gradually got into the RV business. And 2 of my brothers have Ketelsen RV. I'm not getting in a plug for them, but my brother Gary has Ketelsen RV in Hiawatha, DeSoto, and now in Waterloo, and they've done very well with that. We still lived on a farmstead, but now a lot of those farms out by that part of Marion are gone now. In fact, I joke that I used to bale hay where Walmart Health and Beauty Department now is. Yeah. But agriculture's always been a part of my life, and farmers too, and respect what they do. And and people like you, Corey and Tanner, and communicating agriculture story to farmers and also to urban consumers as well. It's important we do that.
Right. So what made you want to get into the communication side of things?
My dad was on the local radio station in Cedar Rapids, and they had live bands on the noon hour in the 40s and 50s. So had that connection to radio. I have an older brother who's kind of really arguably the voice of Minnesota farm broadcasting with his ag network up there. And through that and going to Iowa State, it just seemed like the opportunities fell into each other to go into farm broadcasting. And I've been at it since. A few forays outside of it, but always came back into it.
Right.
It's a family business.
It is.
And I can't let it slide that your dad was a part of live bands over the noon hour, and you said you bale hay. Was that his way to get out of the heat of the day? Leave you guys on the rack, and he'd go listen to music?
Yeah, you did have that figured out pretty well, didn't you? Yeah. Well, as long as I wasn't the one stuck up in the hay mow, I didn't give it too much thought, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was an amazing guy. He was a farmer, a territory dance band leader. He'd play about 5-6 nights a week. Every town had a ballroom back then, even up through the 60s and 70s. And then we got into the RV business thing. So he worked 3 jobs and was the busiest man I ever knew.
Wow. So you said he played. Was he playing music?
Yeah, he played guitar, and he had like a 6-7-piece band. Wow. Playing a variety of things. Back then, you had bands that would play polkas, waltzes, schottisches, foxtrots, some country westerns, some Lawrence Welk type music.
Okay. So can you dance?
I can't dance.
Join the club.
I need to learn how someday, but played in the band in the waning days of it in high school a little bit. So had the chance to be close to my dad in that regard and something other than work things. So that was neat.
Yeah. And so that's where you got your guitar playing and singing skills, I would imagine?
A little bit. My mother was very musical, too, very talented musician.
Okay.
So there was always music in our home.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're still going, you still play, right?
I still play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a weekly thing? Or?
I wish it were. We need more live music. I was playing at some coffee house gigs, but COVID kind of put the kibosh on that out in western Iowa. And I entertain a lot of nursing homes as a way of giving back. But
that's cool.
when I'm trying to make some forays like in Des Moines to play at some wine bars and coffee shops and working on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of music do you like playing?
I play cover hits, songs that people know, everything from Beatles to Buffett to Garth. I do older stuff at the nursing homes for county farm bureaus. I find out the age of the audience and tailor it to them.
Okay.
Do a lot of county farm bureau meetings. Songs that people know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not musically inclined. Both my sisters have great talent. My daughters are picking up the piano super fast, and I just don't get that language. What do you want to call it?
Yeah.
So is it hard? Is it hard to pick up new cover songs? Is it hard to pick up a new piece of music?
For me on the guitar, not. But you mentioned piano, Tanner. I'm taking piano lessons for the first time.
Oh.
It's been a little bit difficult learning that, making the time to sit down and practice. Mm-hmm. But if you find the fun in it, that really helps. And,
right.
Yeah.
What was our guy out at World Ag Expo? What was his name? He said that if you practiced anything 18 minutes a day,
that's right,
you would be better than 1% of the or 99% of the population. You'd be in the top 1% of that skill if you did it for a year.
Wow.
Yep.
It's 18 minutes a day. That's all it takes.
And then we were thinking like, okay, basketball. If I practice basketball for 18 minutes a day, you think about, I was like, I don't know if that would work.
Or the 10,000-hour rule. The Tipping Point book talks about that successful people have had 10,000 hours of doing what they do best.
Yep.
The Beatles are one example of that. They had a lot of apprenticeships working in a lot of seedy nightclubs before they hit it big. A lot of star athletes.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. And a lot of farmers, too.
Right.
I actually had a conversation with our tenant Farm Bureau agent here, Mr. Sievers, yesterday, talking about, the dedication that Caitlin Clark had to her craft and the amount of time that she practiced.
Wow.
And we're talking about our young kids.
Yeah.
She started at that age and honed in on basketball. I'm like, I want my kids to play softball and play volleyball and play basketball and find out what they truly love.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, they can't put in Caitlin Clark type hours.
Well, and then you got they could put in Caitlin Clark type hours, and if they're not that good, it could all
Oh,
not be
right.
for waste, but
Yeah.
you're
Right.
not going to the NBA or WNBA,
Yeah.
type of deal. Like there's, I guarantee you that all the other girls on the Iowa basketball team probably put in a lot of hours too.
Oh, sure.
And
Yep.
there's a lot that aren't going to the WNBA.
Yep.
So
You have to do it for the love of doing it.
yes, you
That's
have
true.
to love it. Kind of like us on the podcast.
Or in my case, I learned guitar to try to meet chicks.
There you go.
Hey.
Did it work?
No.
I was not expecting that as the answer. I figured you
Has it
had 'em
ever worked?
hanging.
Well,
Once in a while.
I'll have to.
You know, those
I'll
old
have to search
ladies,
my memory.
those old ladies at the
The
nursing
nursing
home,
homes,
they do.
They throw their hearing aids and walkers at me instead of their hotel
Their
keys.
dentures and wigs.
You know, John at Staple Farms would be on for this. There's a
think
lot of
about that.
people at the nursing homes that own a lot of land.
Hey, I should have brought a pen and paper
Yeah.
with me. Here.
Hey, don't worry, it's all recorded.
Yeah.
You can just listen back, take the notes.
Yep. So you got this bag sitting here by you. Vittles on the go with Vaughn.
Yeah.
What is this?
We do this every spring. It's a way to thank farmers for the work they do. And it's filled with, things like ball caps and non-perishable snacks, pins, and stuff from our sponsors that make
Okay.
this possible.
Yeah.
And we do it in the fall, too, with a brand sponsor who owns the entire promotion. And it's just a way for us to say thank you. In the old days, I used to do kind of more of a feed the farmer thing where we'd do a day with a family, do a noontime broadcast, sit down with them. But just time-wise isn't feasible anymore. We have bigger farms, as we all know. And some farmers have said, boy, we're honored you chose us, but we have to respectfully decline because we can't even stop for the noon hour. We
Right.
have hired men we're paying. So instead of doing that, I find I just take the bag out like this and give it to them, thank them, get a quick picture. Used to get an interview, but now I just get the picture and get me on my way, and it works out great.
Yeah.
Vittles needs a sponsorship with Skittles.
There we go.
I like that.
Non-perishable. It's a treat. It would definitely go over well in my tractor cab.
I like that.
All right.
I think when Corey first got in my pickup, see, I'm a snacky guy. I don't like going hungry, and I always get the large commercial-sized jar of Skittles, and I have that in my
bigger
truck.
than that. It's like the large jar of cashews at Sam's Club. It's Skittles.
And according to my daughters, it's endless because I just fill the jar back up with another jar. So Skittles, Vittles, Skittles.
I like these. Well,
my
another
God.
revamping idea considering doing with Vittles with Vaughn is vodka with Vaun. Well, we can only do that after 5 o'clock at
Right.
night.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's coffee with Vaughn today.
that's good. I do.
We
like
do
that.
normally have a cocktail during the fun shows if it's later in the day, but now it's a big day today.
Probably
you're
should
first.
pace ourselves, a little
Yeah.
bit. we try to say thank you. I mean, you're saying thank you to farmers. We try to say thank you to our listeners on a frequent basis. We appreciate their feedback because that's what shapes our show. It's probably the same with you, the feedback that you get from the community. One way they do that is through listener reviews. And you were asking us earlier about other broadcasters we had on.
Yep.
How could I forget about Bridget?
Oh, yeah.
We just had Bridget Riedel on.
Yep.
And we got a review from, a lot of letters.
Wow.
Jan Jamiskik 05. I think
Someone
it's,
just slammed the
I
keyboard.
think so. On Spotify, we don't care what they say, Vaughn, as long as they leave 5 stars. A nice, relaxing episode. Bridget is very positive and seems to keep things lively. Good show. I really enjoy the shows that you guys are being educated to, i.e., it's not corn and soybeans. So that was kind of
So they
nice.
enjoy. So we have a lot of corn and soybean farmers. We do a lot of corn and soy content, but we have been expanding. We went out to California to the Central Valley this spring at the World Ag Expo, and have gotten a lot of diversity in crops, and that's fun. And we were
Done
down to
some
Florida to
sugar.
see sugar cane and all that kind of stuff. So
Yes.
that's the
Cool.
coolest part of what we get to do is we are seeing the world of agriculture.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I got to chat with Vaughn here a little bit earlier, and that's kind of the same discussions that we had. No matter where he's been in the Midwest or the state for broadcasting, you've got the opportunity to travel and meet people, and you do a lot of that from your bike.
I do actually on my bicycle, not only with things like RagBri, but just getting out. And if I see a guy out doing work, I can record interviews on my phone now and catch him, maybe get a picture. In fact, one day I was wearing my biking wear, spandex, which there should never be pictures of me in spandex, especially neon green spandex. And I ran into this farmer that I interviewed a few weeks after I interviewed him, and I said, "Oh, good to see you again." "Oh, yeah." And the guy said to me, "I have to admit, when I saw this guy running toward my tractor in the middle of my field wearing green spandex, I wondered who the heck that was." But he was very gracious. And, we have opportunities, as you guys do too, to interview a lot of prominent people in agriculture and politics. But some of the most memorable interviews I know I've done have been out on tractor cabs. People that really keep the wheels rolling, keep us fed. Those are the farmers and their families.
I didn't even think about like you said, what's the word I'm looking for? The substantial guests that you've had the opportunity to speak through, the connections that you had, whether it be political power or influential ag industry. I'm sure you've had quite a few of those.
Quite a few secretaries of agriculture, quite a few politicians. Probably one of the most lively guests, and I know that senior farm broadcasters would agree with me, former Agriculture Secretary Earl Butts.
Earl Butts.
Yes.
The man was not only a great economist, but a born entertainer.
Yeah.
And, boy, you'd have him on your show. He could rival any morning drive show about anywhere. He was really talented with telling stories, keeping it upbeat, and presenting facts in a way that people could grasp with stories.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, very memorable guest with Earl Butts.
Yep. You mentioned being able to record these from the cab on your cell phone now. As the technology that's come along, you used to have to use like a little mini recorder with a tape and all that. Does it make your job a lot easier now?
A lot easier. Full cassette recorders, the tapes would melt a lot in the heat.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'd had that happen to me a time or two. You don't have that, and you don't have to carry a separate camera. It's all on the phone.
Yeah.
And it makes it very convenient. I can record reports using a free app and email the report back to the radio station from that same app.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what he did here in our studio. We had all this equipment
yes.
that he could use, and it was a piece of cake. Made it look slick. Once we got everything up and working, it didn't take him but a couple minutes. I almost thought he was talking to me, and I had to shut my mouth.
And the best part is, at the radio station, they don't even know I'm gone.
Yeah. They just think you're in your office. Huh?
Yeah,
Do you have to go into are you in the office most days, or are you out on the go?
Combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing. So our friend Chuck Weldon, he's a disc jockey for a radio station in Missouri.
Okay.
He's never in the office. He's got a little studio in his basement, and he records his segments there, and he's a farmer and all that. And it's always interesting to get Snapchats from him and all that. It's like, I'm working, But it seems like he has a pretty good time when he does it. So,
yeah.
Like I said, you got to love what you do in order to make something like that work out for you as well.
Yeah.
That's right.
You also have spun this off into doing some fun things live and in person, because I think when I attended the Land Expo, oh gosh, that's been a while ago now, here in Des Moines, didn't you get to you led the event or emceed the event?
Yeah, that has been a little while ago. Yep, that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right, Tanner.
So do you get to do that very often?
Like to do more of that. It's a bit of a drive to Des Moines, but I've always be open to going and doing those sorts of things. So, yeah, a lot of local events where I'm at. I do a lot of presentations for service clubs. I'm a volunteer of the American Cancer Society with Hope Lodge in Iowa City. That's like a Ronald McDonald House for adults with cancer. And I've been involved with that since the groundbreaking and do a lot of presentations about that, too, on the side.
Okay.
That's kind of a passion of mine. And also with other boards I'm on, Iowa Bicycle Coalition, and also in talking to legislators on issues that affect all of us. There's a real concern here in Iowa with drivers on cell phones around farmers that are hauling grain, livestock, or even equipment, endangering those farmers. And it's been something I've lobbied myself at the State House to try to have hands-free legislation passed in Iowa.
Yeah.
And they have it in all the surrounding states but Iowa, and that would help make a difference with a lot of accidents that we've seen happen, involving farmers, too, being affected by people driving their cars on their phones.
Right.
It's also dangerous to text and Podcast.
Texan podcast. I'll tell you what, when you're sitting in a semi, you can see down into that car, and almost every dang car you pass is
Yes.
on the phone.
It's extremely dangerous. I've seen more accidents with people on their phones or texting. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
We need to ban it. And if people don't have a hands-free system in their car, it only costs $40 to have it done.
Right.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I love my Blue Parrot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, looks like I'm taking an order at McDonald's.
Yeah.
But that thing, I can have a conversation standing by a John Deere 4440 wrapped up running an auger, and they
yeah.
don't even hear it because it's got sound canceling on it, and it's like, so the technology is amazing. Use it, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not that expensive, especially when you start considering lives are at stake.
That's right.
You know,
And our farmers deserve that respect. Something else I'd like to see enacted: if a motorist can say, if they're coming behind a farmer on the road, and if they can safely pass that farmer, and there's no other traffic, they should pass.
please pass.
Do it. We need a passing law here in Iowa
Yep.
for that.
Yep.
I hope we get that enacted someday.
Yeah, I would like to have like a sign or something I can flip on, like "You're safe to pass, go."
Yeah,
You
but
know?
then the liability is yours.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I've thought about doing that as well.
Yeah.
Because I've reached back in the window and tried to wave
Yeah.
somebody along. I'm like, don't do that. Because they could say, "Oh, you told me it was safe to go if something happened." We were pulling that Brandt roller back from your place.
Oh man, and that's a wide thing.
And coming up South Dakota.
Yep.
I can't remember what the name of the highway
R38.
is. R38. And it's got a great shoulder, technically a bike lane,
Yeah.
but gave me plenty of room. We were brother-in-law and I were not over the center line.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to Ames, there was 18, 20 cars lined up behind us because the front truck wouldn't pass.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
my.
We're going 40 mile an hour. There was plenty of
They
time.
pull fine. Yeah.
Yep.
It was definitely
Wow.
safe to pass, but everybody in that line of cars,
They
nobody
would-
moved.
Wow. They should have passed you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to. You said that the working with that organization, I think you said outside of Cedar Rapids, tied to cancer, was a passion project of yours.
Yeah, American Cancer Society. My oldest brother, Jack, contracted leukemia. I was, still in my mother's womb, actually. January of 62, I was born that May, and he passed away that November after a year-long battle with leukemia. And that's always been in my background to find out more about Jack. In fact, I did a bicycle ride from Iowa to Washington in Jack's memory to help raise awareness about cancer and to raise funds for the Hope Lodge in Iowa City. It's a nonprofit, part of the American Cancer Society, and people can stay there for free, adults with cancer, their families. And I'm still involved with that. And cancer affects all of us.
It does.
My mother passed away from cancer, and if she'd had a colorectal exam, she might still be alive.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people, please get examined by the doctor. It's painless.
Yeah.
And I hope we do more of that because we're in a fight against cancer, and we need to do all we can to. It starts with us, really,
Yes.
first off.
You breezed right over that. You said you rode your bike from Iowa to Washington?
Yes, that was a solo effort. I had the summer off, so I pulled a cargo trailer behind my bicycle, and I took one of these orange triangle safety things off of our tractor
Yeah.
and put it on the trailer and took off, and it was just an amazing journey. Everybody was very kind and supportive, and everybody I met along the way that I'd share my story with had the same response. They'd say, I know somebody who has or has had cancer. So,
everyone. Yeah.
Everyone. So I got to D.C. I had a good meeting with Senator Charles Grassley and some other elected officials from Iowa on cancer research legislation. And it was a life-changing experience for me.
So
That's a 1,000-mile bike ride.
As I say, before we get into the bike ride, and I know we want to get into more of that because you got something planned when you retire. What's the best way for people to support what you do and help?
Look up, do a web search for Hope Lodge, Iowa City, or American Cancer Society, or ACS Hope Lodge, any of those. And that should take you there are 25 Hope Lodges across the nation. The nearest one beyond Iowa is Rochester, Minnesota.
Okay.
And that was the eye-opener for me when they were thinking of building by the way, the Hope Lodge in Iowa City over 20 years ago. I took a tour of the one in Rochester, and there were farmers there I knew.
Wow.
And they were here getting help at the Mayo Clinic. So we have one now in Iowa City, and I urge people to take a tour of it. It's right near the hospital.
Okay.
And do a web search for Hope Lodge, Iowa City, and you'll find it and how you can be part of supporting that.
Okay, good. Now back to the bike. You rode to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But you told us before we got on air that you have a big trip planned once you retire.
I have several that I'm dreaming about and hope to do. When that day comes, I want to do some trips cross country. My inspiration, my hero, is an 80-year-old man who lives in Des Moines by the name of Jack Day, who every summer does something like that. Now, he rides an e-bike, but he carries all his stuff.
Right.
And I had lunch with him last summer, and the man's my hero. And I plan to do a lot of traveling that way. It's a good way to meet people. When you're traveling at 5 to 10 miles an hour, you stop and see a farmer along the way, you're certainly no threat, and strike up a conversation. I still am friends and keep in touch with people I met on this trek I did back in the summer of 2007 already. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do stuff like that. When we were down in California at the Sequoia National Forest at the World Ag Expo, we stopped to have lunch. And there just happened to be the people next to us. It was a man that had a big beard and, looked like Forrest Gump, that I've been running. He said he was, what do they call him? The Bushman?
Oh, that's right.
He rode a donkey or a horse.
I thought it was a horse.
Or a mule
My heavens.
from California to Sioux City, Iowa.
Oh, my heavens.
For his 50th birthday or something like that.
Wow.
And he had 2 pack mules with him. And did that all the way. And then we're like, just random lunch,
Wow.
He's like, you guys are from Iowa? I rode a donkey there or something. I'm like, what? I was like, why? And he's like, because I wanted to, So it's amazing what people, find.
Boy.
You looking it up?
Well, when you Google Bushman, Sioux City, Iowa,
yeah,
someone's stealing passports.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if my 2-wheeled Cancer Crusader is still up there or not, but that goes way back to 07. But
yeah. So the bike you have on the back of your vehicle is not an e-bike. Are you ever going to get into that, you think?
I don't know. I tried one just for fun of it last year on RagRide because I had some neck issues and I wanted something upright. They're great, but something to emphasize, they're actually, the correct term is pedal assist because you're still pedaling.
Still pedaling.
I was still sweating.
Yes.
A lot, and you get the extra boost, but they are heavier than a normal bike.
They are.
So
when you run out of battery, it's quite a bit more work.
That too, yeah. So I'd have no issues against them as long as they're courteous, as long as people on e-bikes don't leave me in the dust like they always tend to do, or say I'm passing on your left. Yep. There's room for all of us.
So my mom got an e-bike several years ago. Always loved to bike, and then she had knee issues and all that, and she's retired.
Yeah.
I am for them because she stays active. It keeps her active, right?
Yes.
So if that's what it takes to keep you pedaling and moving, then absolutely.
Yep, people have had success stories of losing weight with those, getting out, because, again, you are still pedaling.
Yeah, but, those days that it's 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds, I don't want to go fight that.
No.
Now you can.
You could pedal assist into it, turn around, and then coast your way
set
back
sail.
home.
Hey, I like that.
So I live right here in Slater, and we have the High Trestle Trail. We use that all the time. Head over to Madrid and Woodward and Huxley, Cambridge, and go down to Polk City, Ankeny. It's a great little trail right here. So
very much a gem in Iowa's crown.
Yep, and it has helped these small towns because that's a big money source for these bars and restaurants and things that that they stop along. So.
It is, and some farmers have been afraid of seeing rail beds switch to trails, and research has shown time and again, Corey and Tanner, that there's hardly any incidences of vandalism on these trails next to farms. Minnesota, the Lanesboro area, we've heard success stories about that, have had no trouble, and a lot of extra income being pumped, like you said, Corey, into these small communities. I'm very pro-trail and what they can mean for rural Iowa towns.
Now, tell them what you think about trails and people who don't use the trail.
Well, there has been several instances of bikers on the road right next to a trail.
Okay.
And I never can understand that.
Yeah.
Because, and I am serious, 30 feet
Sure.
away running perpendicular.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? I'm all for sharing the road when the
Okay.
trail's not available.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah. Myself, if I have a choice between riding on the road or the trail, I'm taking the trail.
Heck yeah. It's safer.
Yeah, it is. And I like the idea of having my own dedicated lane, if you will, away from cars. That works for me. Some that I've talked to said, well, you know, we see broken glass on trails if they're not maintained, if there's problems, or I've run into this too, even where there'll be people coming from the other direction on bikes and they're not paying attention.
Right.
Me, I'll take the trail. For those that do take the road, this is my own disclaimer, be courteous to the motorists. I always wave them ahead.
Yeah.
And I get out of the way.
yeah.
There's bad actors on all sides.
Oh, yeah.
And I always emphasize to people,
Yeah.
we have to be ambassadors as cyclists for people driving and be courteous to
Yes.
them too.
And I would say, so this trail out here crosses many gravel roads.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the bikers that aren't paying attention. And I use the trail. I'm a biker.
Yeah.
I have almost hit several because they pop out from I can't see
Yeah.
them. They pop out from behind it, and I'm just slamming on the brakes. It's
Yeah.
like, guys, you got to expect that there's a car.
Yep.
Going to be a car.
Yep.
And you
have
just
to-
pedaled for a mile. I mean, that's a pretty good stretch. It's not like
Yeah.
you're frustrated and all of a sudden I just went a quarter of a mile and I got to
Yeah.
stop again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pedaled for a mile. That was good.
Yeah, slow down a little
Yeah.
bit. You
Yeah.
know, check out both ways, like what your mom told you when you're little.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, come on, you're crossing a road here.
I'm usually so slow anyway. You know, it's not even an issue to stop. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm basically stopped already. Just
Right.
it is kind of handy. I mean, I don't pedal a lot, but knowing how far apart Huxley and Slater are, you know,
Yeah.
we're talking what,
It's like 8 miles.
6 to 8 miles.
Oh yeah.
There's been a couple of times to where Corey's pedaled over to have a beer with me, and I've pedaled back over to have a beer with him.
Yep.
And you don't feel so bad about downing the beverage because you just burnt
Yeah.
the calories. Of
Yeah, those calories don't count.
You need carbohydrates.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And it's been inspiring for me. I'm a host of a nonprofit group called Warm Showers. I host people from all over the world
Okay.
in my apartment. I hosted a couple of young guys, James and Sam from England, going across
Wow.
America. And what a fun time that was. They were raising money for a literacy project in England. I played at a house gig that night, and we donated all the money that I made to that, and they passed a collection around to go for that, and the guys donated all the money for the literacy project. People from China, people from Europe. You meet a lot of interesting people out there.
Yep.
All of
really-
those stories to tell.
Warm showers. So that's the
Yeah.
opposite of a cold shower. Wake you up.
Nice observation.
Okay,
right.
well,
It is. I was immediately thinking if you hosted somebody via your warm shower group, you
Yeah.
could have a cold plunge.
There you go.
Just get the
Doesn't
perfect
sound-
balance.
Doesn't sound as fun. Anyway, well, before we wrap things up, we have to talk about you're a big advocate for FFA.
that's right.
So explain that. Were you in FFA growing up?
You know, one of my biggest regrets was I wasn't.
Okay.
I went to a school that had just started a chapter,
Okay.
Linmar, and I was in 4-H. I wish now that I would have been, because you don't have to be going into production agriculture to be an FFA.
Right.
They're big on public speaking. They have the FFA band, and just a lot of great different things. I go to these state meetings every year, and God, the kids, the energy there, good karma, I guess you
Right.
could call it. I've always been a proponent of it. I do a weekly program on the Carroll stations called FFA Today, where I interview FFA students as well as FFA alums
Right.
about their FFA experience, how it shaped them, and what a joy it is to do that program.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love doing that.
I know FFA shaped my background. You know, there's not a lot of curriculum in high school that actually gets you ready for the real world.
Yeah.
FFA, it is,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It is getting you ready to be an employee, a business owner, a speaker, you
Yeah.
know, lots of things that beyond crops and livestock.
That's right. Oh, absolutely.
You know, so it's big. I'm a lifetime member and a big supporter, and yeah. So I ended up getting my Iowa degree. I did not go on to get my national degree, but
Wow.
yeah. So Tanner was in FFA too, right?
I was 4-H.
4-H. So you
Yep.
didn't have FFA.
Didn't have an FFA chapter.
See, I'm gonna get my jacket and put it up on the wall behind us.
You
so,
should.
right?
Because it doesn't fit anymore.
Well, yeah. I'll try the fat guy in a little coat scene.
We actually had one of the communications directors from the Texas FFA reach out to us, and we get to put our creative hats on to see how we can support FFA in a state that's a long ways away from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've got, opportunities here locally, but when you think about it, it's across the nation, and it's important everywhere, not just in Iowa.
Yep.
Don Henley of the Eagles was an FFA member.
Really? I did not know
think
that.
Randy Meisner of the Eagles, who was from Scottsbluff, might have been an FFA kid too.
Okay.
Both founding members of the Eagles.
That's cool.
That is really cool.
And there's a lot of new FFA chapters springing up in Iowa that are in urban areas. Ames has an FFA chapter now.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a new chapter, a fairly new one in Independence, Iowa, where I used to live, and a lot of quote-unquote non-traditional chapters that are more city kids.
I know Des Moines has got some urban chapters, and so they show a lot of rabbits and cats and have gardens and things like that, on their SAE projects, and it takes all walks, and just to get that education in the classroom, because as we get further and further away from the generations are getting further and further away from the farm.
Yeah.
So they got to know where their food comes from.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Even the Chicago FFA chapter that started in the 80s, parents would drive their kids to the Chicago Ag School from 2 hours away to be part of that program that had FFA in Chicago.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's impressive. I just pulled up the email from Ashley who reached out to us. She said the Texas FFA Association has almost 180,000 members.
Wow.
Individuals.
Wow.
That's a big group of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Blue Jackets.
That is. That's a lot of corduroy.
Gives me optimism because those young kids are going to be paying for my Social Security.
There
That's
you go.
right. Not if they're farmers. Farmers try to avoid all tax. We know how that goes.
Jeez.
But it is kind of neat to see what the future is going to bring up. We've got a lot of young folks that help us out with our production here on the podcast, preparing the outline that we got. Your background on Vaughn. We've got help with crafting our social media clips and doing some video editing and all of our audio. All of those individuals are under the age of 30.
Yeah.
Yep.
And might be even all of them under the age of 25.
Right.
It's just fun to see and experience the energy that they have to continue to promote agriculture.
Yep.
I'm a fan of high school kids because it was a high school kid that taught me how to use social media.
There you go.
And that's no kidding. I'm a fan of technology. I like what's going on. I grew up in an old farmhouse that was 100 years old that had no air conditioning.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to those days. I like having cell phones, central air, and the modern conveniences. And I like the way our lives are better because of technology.
Right. Yep. Love that.
So you mentioned that you've got these trips planned for post-retirement. If you could have any job you'd ever want, what would be your next job?
What are you guys planning in the next few years?
We've got a lot of plans.
There you go. Vaughn didn't know it was a job interview.
Slater's a pretty good town. Got a bike trail that goes anywhere,
I can't answer that I'd like to be the fifth Beatle because that wouldn't really apply. Or a member of the Eagles.
Wouldn't that be cool, though?
That'd be great, yeah.
The music concert for the middle school was last night, and they did the music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they threw in a Beatles number there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
They had a couple of kids put some costumes on, and they fake played the drums and fake played the guitar. And
Yep.
got to continue to enjoy that.
Yep.
I always feel about the future when I see a young person wearing a Beatles T-shirt. Yeah.
Gives you a little hope.
That's right. I guess I don't want to ever retire. I want to always stay busy. Music things, volunteering, giving back the community in various ways, public speaking, representing like the Cope Lodge Cancer Society, maybe find some kind of a broadcasting or podcast gig, but I still want to be busy. If you just sit around and do nothing, here's a fact, I don't own a TV.
Really?
I haven't for 20 years. I got the whole hype with switching from analog to digital. I thought, I'm not going to spend money on that. I had an old boat anchor TV my folks gave me, and I never plugged it in.
Okay.
So I just kind of moved on beyond it, and I found I have more time for books, reading, music, and there's podcasts.
Yeah.
You can listen to. They're entertaining like this. And
What types of books do you like to read?
everything from geopolitics to biographies, political history, to some fiction. A lot of self-help books. I love Dale Carnegie.
Yep.
I'm a past graduate instructor of the Dale Carnegie course, for example.
Okay.
Books on feng shui, which is decluttering, channeling
Oh,
energy.
boy, we should cut you loose on the studio.
I notice there's a lot of wires here.
Well,
a lot of feng shui.
You're facing the east, at least.
Right. Yeah. we are going to address this. This is not a done setup yet. We just moved in at the beginning of the year, and
It's just like any house remodel project. You get it to where it's livable, and then you move in. And then all the little pieces that you wanted to finish take forever to finish.
But we're actually doing our ribbon cutting at the end of June, so it's got to be done by then. So.
Okay. Well, it's a cool studio. You got the barnwood. You've got the neon signs on air with John Deere.
We've got a lot more stuff going to go on the walls.
I love it.
A little bit more sound deadening to go on that wall and that wall, and then we're going to do something with the ceiling, drop that down a little bit. But it works for now, and these headsets help out, with that. So the studio is open to you anytime. If you want to continue your podcasting or whatever, you've seen it now. And
yes, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's a little ways away from Carroll, but if you're doing Vittles on the Go with Vaughn, you certainly can pop in and do your markets here while you drop your bags
I'll
off.
bring some extra bags.
there you go.
There you go.
And that vodka with Vaughn thing, that's got some potential.
Yeah, come after 5.
I think it's got more than just a little bit of potential. That's good. I already know that there's a distillery in Grimes that, what is it, Blue Ox or Purple Ox or whatever it is, some local corn-made
there you go.
moonshine. Oh, wait, it's got to be vodka. That's
Vodka.
right.
Cocktails with Corey.
There you go.
Like that too.
Yeah.
All we're going to do
know
is
what we're gonna
drink
do with
here.
Tanner.
Might as well just turn this into a bar.
There we go. Well, that's the backup plan. If the podcasting doesn't work, we know this would make it as a bar. That's what this is an old Casey's, by the way. I don't know if you know that. There's a lot of old Casey's that are bars.
Yep.
Mucky Duck is an old Casey's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? It's kind of funny.
They always find great spots to play, put their locations because they built right across the street from here, and it seems like whenever they close down a store, they just build right across the corner from it.
Yep.
You're right.
Expand
on
it.
Yep.
Now that you mentioned that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, we ask the same question at the end of every one of our shows. Right now, it's the brainchild of both Corey and Dave.
Yeah.
And they want to know what the best food is that you've ever eaten and where you got it from.
Oh, good heavens. I have to say this because I think of her every day, my mother. Marjorie Towers Olive Ketelsen. God bless her, and my dad. She made potato salad like nobody else, and she always put a little bit of sugar in it.
Really?
And I've never had potato salad as good as my late mother's.
Okay.
Well,
Do you have the recipe still?
No, I don't.
that's too bad.
I don't know. I burn cornflakes when it comes to cooking. I need a cooking for dummies class.
There you go.
There you go. It's a self-help book, right? You can grab one of those.
Another one of those self-help books
Yeah.
I'm reading. Yeah.
I don't think I would have, at the beginning of your question, ever expected somebody to say a potato salad.
I wouldn't have, but
Now, there's terrible potato salad, and there's really good potato salad.
right.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had anybody pegged to answer that way.
It makes sense though because it's not sometimes about the food. The food is good. It's the story behind
The
it.
memory.
Right?
I mean, I don't even care for potato salad as a rule, but it's the memory of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
That's a great answer. Well, Vaughn, you have been more than patient with us today.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time that you've spent with us and sharing your story with our listeners. If our listeners want to listen to your broadcast, how can they do that?
We stream live, here's the shameless plug, at 1380kcim.com, and I'm working on some kind of a website platform to promote my music thing and some voice work I do, but Haven't had time to get to that, but I need to find that high school kid to help me set that up.
Yes.
He's graduated from college by now,
Right.
off in another state. So if you know of a high school kid I could hire to help me with that, let me know, guys.
We have some connections. We have a pretty big team. Yeah. So
I actually think I've used your streaming service to listen to a Hawkeye game on the radio, because when the radio doesn't work in your tractor or your semi and you try to go to iHeart, you can't get the local AM stations to play the game. They play the music that's playing. So I think I went through your stream to get that broadcast.
Yep. We carry a pro sports ball team and Iowa State sports too. Yeah.
Good. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Guys, it's been great being with you here today. What a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for spending the morning with us. Thank you for being patient, like Tanner said. It's an honor to have you in studio. I'm glad we could make this work. It just made sense, right? You were wanting to drop some vittles on the go off. I was like, why don't you do that and just sit down and have a conversation?
Well, yes, it's been a lot of fun for me, guys, seriously.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Well, Corey, how do you tell the listeners that we're done?
Normally I say crack a Busch Light. You deserve it. It's a little early for that today, though.